give in to the dark side.
Fucking looks.
I am the Watcher.
I am the Walrus. wook+live. Welcome back to Wook Plus. I'm Weekend Wook, joined by Kev the Great Wan and T. We were gonna do a Wook Club, but I called an audible last minute, and these guys were awesome enough to come hang out. I don't know. We've been talking a lot of fish shows, and I figured there's a lot of other shit to talk about. I just wanted to hang out, and fucking Twitter's blowing up, and it's funny. So, welcome.
But for the people that did listen and expected to talk about the show, we should still do the show. We just won't be able to do it for a bit because next week's Dead Week, and Kev is picking the Dead show for next week because I'm going to go back to
the private chat. Check the private chat, T.
We're going to go May for a Vegas show, and we're going to go June for my first show at Mile High for the Dead show. So those will be the next 2 months of Dead shows. But we will do a fish one. I'm checking the private chat. I don't see anything.
It's not there anymore.
Oh, because did we change? Well, because I put it in there before you guys showed up. So it was only private with me.
Are you saying we were late and you were the first one here?
I'm always the first one here.
Oh, nice. Okay, I like it, Kev. Send me that in another way that I'll remember to get it, but I like that show.
Yes.
Good job.
That's
thank you, SC. Thanks for jumping on. Listen, I wanted to take a minute first before we get into any other topics and thank all of the people who supported the channel and have been sending positive vibes. We got a ton of awesome feedback and adulations, everything for the Wookies last night. And I also want to congratulate all the winners. I mean, this was what, the fifth one? And I don't want to talk shit about the past winners, but these were definitely the best winners this year. No, I mean, seriously though, like that was quite the slate, and it was a great honor to be able to honor them and to highlight everything they give to the community. And for those of you that get it and are all about the positivity, welcome. And I thank you.
This is the kind of statement that you make when you step in it more by making the statement.
I'll say this though. I think it just speaks to how many awesome people we actually have in the community and around that we can keep giving the awards to such awesome people. Cause like, it's hard to say this year was better than that. Like every year we have fantastic people that accept and present the awards and are willing to do it. And I think that just speaks volumes to how many people there are to be included in this. And there's still, I've already started working on next year. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I want to do it next year, but sorry, Kev. Let me just, because it's been weighing on me, because this is what happened exactly last year, was we put out a product that we were super proud of. All the winners were very gracious, and it was something that we had a lot of fun with. And then there was this huge whatever of mixed things, and people like trying to make it toxic and something it wasn't. And I kind of got burnt out at like the whole idea of like, you know, it doesn't discredit or make anyone else lower. It's just highlighting people that we feel need to, you know, I don't know. We are doing it next year, right? We're going to be positive.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, listen, look, the publicity. I mean, any negativity is good publicity. Like our stock price is through the roof, like I tweeted. So it's all good. Like good. You know, haters are always gonna. You can't let the haters win by backing down from your stances. Like if anything,
no, but I don't want people to be genuine. Because, like, for example, the ones I think about is like there are a couple podcasters that I really admire and I think have been doing awesome work and have been in the running every year.
Oh yeah.
But you can only pick one. So, like, yeah, I mean, Wook of the Year and that stuff. Like, Maggie's awesome, and I'm not saying, but like, that's more like tongue in cheek. Like, haha.
Maybe we can do maybe you should do a podcast bracket.
Right. Well, but then you get.
Then you get Yeah. I
Ken's
mean,
just like, let's
I
stir
think
this shit up.
I think when honestly when there would be a problem is if we were like keeping it so self-included and we were like giving Kev podcast of the year or something and keeping it like like
Maybe I would if his podcast was
but it's like, and it's true, there are a lot, and you do feel bad for like you're like, oh yeah, that one is deserving, but like you only give one a year, and that's why there's multiple ones like years to go because there's and new ones pop up. Like look at Jam Band News, they're new and dominated digital content. We're totally worthy of it. I mean, you can't.
That was the easiest decision of them all. Those guys fucking destroyed the digital content in the best way. Kev, do you remember what you were going to say? I did not mean to cut you off like that, and then I did not know that.
Yes, I was going to say, as a veteran of the Twitter wars, I have found that a lot of times, you have to have some empathy for the other people that for whatever's going on in their life, they're lashing out at something that's completely a joke and frivolous and just meant to be fun. So that's all I'm going to say. Just, sometimes, before you get out your sword, maybe say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was thinking about that the whole time. And there's a weird thing that happens in these situations where I want to say something that I think is like funny or sarcastic and it reads one way. And then once it's out there, it's read a different way. And you're like, oh shit, people, that's not what, and then they react a different way. And then I interpret it a different way. And the initial intents of all the things, all that said, I think overall it's been super positive and a fucking great day. I love all the discourse. I honestly, what I find the most interesting is how protective people are over the term wook, and like not even from like the Wookies or Maggie or anything, but just like wook plus, like and like weekend wook. Like I've kind of adopted that, and like people, you can't do that. I'm like, what? Why are you defending it? Like they're the worst, lowest people on earth, but I'm going to defend their right to autonomy and keeping that as their identity. I was like, what?
Right, you guys aren't the shitbags you claim to be. Like, what the fuck? Just like, okay, well, sure. It reminds me a lot of like, I don't know, there's discourse in everything, right? And I mean, we're comic book and like nerds of fandoms and stuff, and it just reminds me so much of like the backlash that Marvel faces or like Star Wars when they cast like women
all the other billionaires.
Yeah, but it's so funny because like no matter how much fandom there is, there's always like this side of it that's like, oh no, you're wrong for liking that and they're wrong for doing it that way, and so the whole thing is wrong. We need to blow it all up, and like we can't just get along and let it go. And it's just so funny. Like let it breathe.
I was at Big Cypress.
Well, I liked that. There was 2 points that I enjoyed that came out of it that really made me like, huh, that's interesting. A lot of people are wooks at one point and then decide to like switch up their lives. They get older, they have kids, they get a job, and like, but their heart doesn't change, their passion doesn't change. So and then the other part of it is like where I'm coming from is I'm too like fishy Wookie to be a normie, right? Like everyone at work, I'm like the hippie in that world,
right.
But I'm too normie and successful to be a wook, right? I'm too poor to be a Trustafarian, but I'm too wealthy. I'm just nothing. But I want to have a way to explain our passions easily, simply to people so that we can gather and discourse and discuss and have like what we have. So that's the whole point of it is you see Wook Plus, you get the idea. You don't have to know like my interpersonal details. You get the lifestyle and the atmosphere and the jam band scene and what the shit we're interested in. And that's all it is.
You're almost like a no man in no man's land.
It's true though, Tim, to your point. I mean, like it's hard to maintain, like you can't go through life wanting things that like have, like you want to have a house, right? Like you want to have a good place for your kids to live. So that requires like having money and a job. So you have to figure a way to do that. But then you still want to stay true to some of the things that you were like in college and younger when those things were like,
when you were like, fuck the man, I don't need any of this.
Right.
But then you're like, I'm tired of being broke and sleeping in my car.
But you still scrounge, but you still, the one thing that like didn't change in that through thread of your life is the music. And like, you loved Fish when you were in that age and you love Fish now and you've always loved Fish. So it's not like you suddenly have come into this because of whatever reason. Like, it's been true the whole time. Like, I don't know, there's still things, like, I don't know, it's hard, but yeah, it's true. Like, looking ain't easy. Ain't that the truth? Like, I still don't wear shoes at shows, like, ever, because I don't like them, but
People
like
give you shit at Dick's for that. People give you shit at Dick's.
they give me shit everywhere.
That's lower than Wook, though. That's dirty, man. You gotta wear some fucking shoes. Come on.
No, never.
You know
like
what I
to
told
feel
my
the
kid
ground.
earlier? I told my kid earlier, she was complaining about, having to work and finding a job. And I was like, find something you love doing that you make bucket loads of money doing, and it'll all be good.
Yeah, that's all. Just find something to make bucket loads that you love.
That you
Not
love.
hard.
Well, I mean, and that's a true point too, though, Kev.
Right.
Like, I mean, I have never sold out my beliefs of what I've always wanted to do. Like, I never finished college because when I went to college, like, they didn't have the major that I wanted to be in, which was like film and things. So like, it was a different time, and editing and things. It was like harder where I went to school to do that. So I just came out here and started working my ass off. And honestly, like, I've had to work twice as hard to do things to like prove myself that I'm worthy of like some of this stuff than anything else. So then to have people shit on you for like, oh, you're successful. Well, yeah, but I've busted my ass to try to be successful so I can afford to do these things that I want to do.
I hate that conversation of people evaluating and assessing who
I
should
know.
or shouldn't earn or shouldn't whatever. Anyway,
Well, it's
so
great
hard.
if you go to Europe and somebody asks you ask somebody what they do, they're like, "Oh, I like to ride my bike. I like to play my violin." You ask somebody in America that, they're like, "Oh, I'm a financial advisor for whatever."
well,
So
not
we have
me. They ask me what I do, and I'm like, I talk to a bunch of idiots on YouTube every week. Meaning you guys, not the viewers.
No way. You're like, I design bridges and buildings and shit so they don't fall down.
It depends. I'm like the wind. That's a good point, though, Kev.
So it's part of like, where we are as a country too, that maybe we should focus on where somebody says, "What do?" You say, "Oh, I have a YouTube channel."
I go to a lot of shows.
Yeah, but I mean, I gotta keep it separated. Like no, I don't have to. But that was always that's the other side. All right, this is the last earnest thing I'm gonna say. I swear to God, because the other irony is that this was all fucking a joke. Like, it was it's a fake name derived from a fake character in a fictional world by fucking George Lucas, and this channel is all it's a joke. But I do want to say one more earnest thing. Up until 2016, I felt divided because I had to keep my, fish, druggy, whatever one, and my professional in another, and like my personal family in another. And I was like, I felt a pressure from everybody to just be different people at different times. And I was like, I don't want to be in one of those silos. I want to be all of these things because that's what I feel comfortable with. So that was the whole idea of like doing the weekend book thing and like just being comfortable in all of it. And I think that it's dangerous to get all fucking like you are whatever and label it. Anyway, I'm done being earnest. Do you guys want to keep being earnest? You want to fuck around and joke about other shit?
Let's fuck around and talk about other shit.
Is there other shit to talk about?
Well, I want to talk. I know it's a couple days old, but I want to talk about Drew Carey. I mean, we talked about it after it happened, after the tweet happened. But holy shit, to fucking come out and own that shit the way he did. I have respect for the man now, like to just own it. And like, I didn't realize he was that funny because I used to watch like Goose and shit, but he was never that funny. But that fucking shit about injecting heroin in your eyes, I was like, he gets it. That's exactly what it's like.
It was pretty great. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, the fact that he owned it that much, and his comments, like the comments on the tweet were one thing, but then what he said like live was a whole other like doubling down on it, right? And it was just like, here's
4
more
hours
of
of
it.
editing. That was fantastic.
That was great. And I mean, again, you had people like shitting on him for being there and coming out and saying it. And again, the guy's like experiencing pure joy in like the most fantastic orgasmic universal form, and people are like, fuck that guy. Like, what?
Right. That was weird, right?
Like, oh man.
It made me question myself because he got there with like the big screen and everything, but I was like, I've gotten there on a muddy field.
Oh
In
yeah,
the freezing cold. I can't feel my toes. Like I've gotten there before and it didn't need any of that other shit.
totally. And then pouring rain at Red Rocks, like yeah, it's definitely like wherever you get it from though. And I mean, hey, at least he got it right. Like
I'm
some people
happy
go
for him.
their
I
whole
really
life
am.
without ever getting it, and you feel bad for those people. But at least he
Well, you know
got
what
it.
those people do? They go on Twitter and lash out at a fake award show.
And bitch about people getting it. Like
Oh
that
no,
was what we
how
were
dare
saying.
you guys get it?
That's what we were saying in the green room before this. Like Kevin and I were talking about that, and it's like, you know, you want to be invited to the party, and if you are invited to the party, then the party's awesome and it's cool. But if you're not invited to the party or you can't make the party, then the party fucking sucks, and the people at the party are fucking lame.
No, but that's honestly, I guess that's a better way of explaining my hesitation with doing the Wookiees was because of leaving people out, and I didn't want it to feel like a popularity contest or gatekeeping, right? Like I didn't want to make other people feel down by highlighting other people. And the first couple of years, everybody was kind of on board. They were like, "Oh, this is stupid and funny," but then like it got like people actually wanted the awards. See, that was the difference. When nobody knew about it or gave a fuck, it was fun. It was satire. It was like, oh, they're mocking the Grammys. But then people started like lobbying and like, oh, I want to be it. Oh, I want to be it. And then there was disappointment. Then it got too serious. And that's when I was like, I don't know if we want to still do this.
But
So
my
we got to
point
figure out a
wasn't-
way to like just remind people like we on one hand honor the people that have won without making it that serious or giving a fuck because it's all just silly.
Right, but my point isn't the party is the awards. The party is this part of the community, and everyone that gets the awards are the joke and like gets what we do and enjoys what we do for what we do.
I thought you were saying we were the party. I was like, I like that. We are
No,
the party.
We are but no, we are. The awards aren't the party. Us overall is the party, and like the chat is the party. The people on Twitter that like get us and support it are the party. The people that don't and like say fuck those guys, they're not real wooks, don't quite get it and are like pissed that they're
but
not.
I want to bring them into the party too.
Well, of course,
honestly.
everybody's invited. Like you're all invited. There's no like doorman. You can all come in.
Yeah.
So Neil Young opened. Neil Young
Are we
opened up
ready
his
for the
tour
Neil
last
Young
night.
minute?
We're already kicking it. That's Kev just plowing ahead.
I just don't want to talk about this at the moment. That's all. So
I like this. Like this was something I was gonna bring up too. Again, like Goose just keeps doing cool shit. Like regardless of whatever, I think it's cool. Like you go back and play your high school.
I love your relationship with Goose. It's like this weird love hate where like you so desperately want to hate him, but you keep like, fuck, that was cool.
See, here's the thing. I don't like the music, but I love everything they do around being a band and the content. That's just me. That's my personal.
That's a 100% legit and fair opinion. Like, yeah, no, I get it.
So I will stand them for like how cool they are with social media and their content and the things they do. I just don't necessarily need to go to a show and stand their music. Although I will say they did play the song that I do like by them, Animal, at that thing, which I think was perfect for the high school thing. That's the one song I do like. So
join us. Now that I've crossed over after I'm a late adopter sometimes, I can admit it. I'm not afraid of it. But now that I have finally crossed over, I'm like, come T, join us. Come to I don't know. I mean, I'm crossed over, but I don't know shit. Like I don't know any of the songs or anything. Like I'm still learning, but fucking that what was it? The fucking cap run, I enjoyed that profusely. Like that was a very fun time for me. Although I am kind of burnt out after doing that and then the Sphere.
That's a lot. Those were a lot of after shows. And yeah, I mean, and again, like, you know, pulling Vampire Weekend on stage and doing their 30-minute jam was fucking awesome. Like that was a cool crossover event. And of course, even at that moment, you get a lot of the Goose fans hating the fact that they did that and why are they wasting their time playing this song with this band and blah blah blah. And yet just enjoy the music. Like you're getting free other band music jamming this song.
Trevor didn't seem too into it either.
Well, I think he was just like uncomfortable with the other bass player. Like it was like a safe, like get out of my space kind of thing.
Again, Kev, he's like the old dog, and the Vampire Weekend bass player is a puppy. Like, did you see him at Coachella?
Chirpy, like,
yeah, like he loves to get down and groove it. He's like Flea, like he's up there being obnoxious, and Trevor's very stoic and like, I play my bass this way. This is my zone, you know. Like it's just two different guys doing it.
I'm gonna hit my bass. Hey, Kev, I got a question for you. A legit, earnest question. You ready? You want to like get centered? I want your take, honestly. do you think that the Sphere run and all of the publicity that's come out of it? I went to work into the office yesterday. Normally I work from home, and like people know I'm a fish fan. Everyone out of the woodwork, people were just like talking to me about fish that had never mentioned them before. Do you think this 41 years into their career elevates the band into a next level, or is this just a flash in the pan and it's gonna go and settle back down?
I think that we're in a different time. That 25 years ago, yes, it may have put
Like a
them
touch of
into
gray,
like a touch of gray. But with the way the media cycle runs, this will run a week or two. It'll be in the back of people's head. And the next thing you know, you'll see John Mayer and Bob Weir on CBS this morning talking about their plans for the Sphere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
when
as
they're
soon as
playing it,
somebody
I
else
mean,
plays it, then it's gonna.
and they're doing 24 shows, so Dead & Co is going to get some publicity out of that, and there will be, fair or not, compare and contrast about the fish, like what Fish did there compared to what the Dead did there, and I think that's not fair either. I think the fair comparison will be whoever the next act is that comes in there, because we all kind of know what to expect out of Dead & Co. Like they already do, like we've talked about, the graphics and stuff, so seeing them on the bigger stage will be awesome, but you kind of already know what you're getting into. No one knew what to expect with Fish, and I don't think anyone
And
knows
they
what
also
to
have a
expect.
blueprint now. Fish kind of was inventing a lot of that
Right.
shit.
Right.
Yeah, and another thing is a Drew Carey or a Vanessa Hudgens or somebody who
I
has
don't
a
know who
Groening.
that
big
is. I
following.
saw that on Twitter, but I
Right.
don't actually know who that is.
She was in High School Musical.
Is that a Disney thing?
Yeah, when my
Okay.
kids were little,
She's
that's
like,
why I know
yeah,
her.
she's very she's the
Okay.
actress. She's been like, she does Coachella every year, and like people get so annoyed at her. Like again, like she goes and lives her best life at Coachella having fun, and people are like, oh, like fucking actress.
Yeah. But what were you saying, Kev?
Well, but the thing being that her sharing that, or Drew Carey sharing that doesn't have the same effect as a top 10 song does, like Touch of Grey, when you only had the radio. They were playing that song
Right.
3 or 4 times a day. It was drilled into your head, you know?
And what's funny is you see people bitching about her and Drew Carey. You don't see people bitching about Matt Groening, because The Simpsons are such a crossover into kind of Fish.
Where was our
Well, he's
secret
in their
language?
camp. No, but
Right.
it's all about camps, though. It's like that guy's in our camp, so he's allowed to do it.
The
I was like,
party. He's in our party. Like, it's
did
fine.
you notice nobody bitched about Scoot winning Wody or like Scoy or whatever? Because they, not that they even knew him, and I love those guys, but like, and actually, I would say they're closer to Benz and Maggie than they are to other people, but they felt like they were part of the same camp. So I was like, oh, I get it. That makes sense to me. And then, oh, they're from a different camp. We can't like them. Sorry, Kev. I didn't mean to bring it back into that. I agree with you, McGrupp. I hope it does settle. I think it will. I don't know if you guys remember, but the 420, I call them the 420 shows, but the April New Year's shows where they did the whale and everything, there was a big flash then where it was like on the news and like fucking people are like, oh, Fish is on the next level. There's going to be a lot of new fans. Yeah. And I mean, maybe there was a little bit, like we saw a bunch of new people, but it kind of settled instantly. I'm torn because like I don't want it to blow up and become harder to do what we do and enjoy it. I also want the band to have continued success, and I want it to live on. And I feel like the more people that are into it, the more momentum it'll have for longevity past beyond even the band. So
yeah,
like Grateful Dead's never going away. At this point, it is so ingrained in the lexicon that my great grandchildren will know about the Grateful Dead. I don't think Fish is there yet, and I would like them to get more ingrained and have
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, either one of you think, that Fish will eventually play stadiums like the Dead and play like football size arena and get out of the arenas? Because it feels like,
I think they could
like we
if
always
they
talk about,
wanted to. I just don't know if they want to, but I feel like they probably could.
I don't think they could sell out.
Maybe not around the
75,000.
country, but I guarantee you if they did like fucking like in Philly or New York or something, like or Boston, you could fucking do it around here for one show. You would have to do way less shows and then make a bigger thing, but
that's what I'm saying. But I'm not saying that. Like,
I don't think they want to. I think it would
like
be terrible.
Again, but that seems like, I mean, what you're kind of saying with the progression of shit. I know like stadiums suck, and I'm not advocating for them to do that. I'm just saying it's that progression. Like, I mean, even Vampire Weekend's playing the Hollywood Bowl now, which is a much bigger venue than where I've seen them the last few times. Granted, they played Coachella too, but like that's just like on the other stages and getting that popularity and that momentum built. And now they're playing bigger venues and bigger places. So for Fish, it just seems like if you're going to start inviting this other crowd to start enjoying it, which I don't think people will. Like, there's still a jam band. There's still like there's people that, you saw tweets from people that were like, oh, we were sitting around a bunch of newbies that were there anyway, and the people to our left halfway through the show, and the people to our right are now fans, and that's kind of how I feel. Like, it's kind of like a 50-50 almost, right? Like, half the people will get it and want to join in, maybe even less than that, maybe like 75-25 or something.
I don't know though. Okay, I think there's two things. Music strictly, yeah, I think it's less than 50% would get the music right away. But I feel like right now we're all in a collective PTSD from the pandemic. And I'm not even saying politically, just what we experience as a country. There's this weird vibe going on, right? No matter where you are. And I think there's a hunger to get out of that and to get into something new and to have a positive camp or group to like latch onto, whether that's a positive or negative thing. And I think there's a lot of people that were just looking that might have been exposed to it, and that's all it takes. And it's like, it's mainstream enough and acceptable enough to where they can easily jump in, right, with a bunch of other people. That's the other thing, is gatekeeping is hard when you're the only one jumping in, but when a lot of people are jumping in, it's easy just to get in the crowd and jump in. And maybe it is big enough. I'm going back on what I said about it. I don't think maybe it is big enough, and there's enough people at one moment that are hungry enough for something different that are gonna be like, hey, I see what they're doing and I dig it. They might not fucking watch wook+ and like track the set list and be like heady like us, like obsessed, but fuck, they're coming to my town, they're doing a festival. Yeah, I want to go see them. I want to go my one time a year, get a head full and fucking go listen to hippie music. Sure.
But my point, but what my original point was too, was coming back to, was like you saying, will they ever reach that status of the Dead being that famous and known? And I feel like the Dead got there because they play. Like, I feel like the bands that play the big stadiums and the big tours get that sort of thing. And Fish is still, while they're huge and do all this stuff, they're still not playing those venues to be that huge in the lexicon of that. I mean, yeah, they've been around for 40 years. We know how awesome they are. We love them, but they still play the smaller arenas, you know what I mean? And the Shed.
I reject that, because I don't think that was. I think that they sell out MSG and big sheds almost instantaneously. I think that they can. I think that was a conscious decision.
But can you sell it? Can you multiply that by 3?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like when they outgrew Red Rocks, right? And they've outgrown, but then they've hit kind of this like lull, like a lot of bands do. They've plateaued at this level. Will like an influx of new fans and shit propel them to have to start playing stadiums because they can't play?
I agree that they plateau, but what I'm saying is, when they get these surges, I don't think they're going to switch to those things. I think they're either going to add shows or do festivals. I just don't see them.
But that goes against their whole point of them not doing more shows. Like we've always said, they're going to start cutting back on shows and doing. So maybe it's
nights at single less locations, more shows. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I agree. I don't think they're ever going to do a 92 where they hit like the whole, but I could see them doing, we're going to do a week here and do 5 nights, and we're going to do 3 nights here, and then we're going to do a 4-night resident there, and maybe take a week off in between. And
but see, on that point, for them, why do 10 shows at MSG or whatever? Why not just do 2 at Giant Stadium and fill the thing with everybody that would come anyway?
No, man. I don't know why I'm arguing with you. I don't. It's a hypothetical, and I don't feel strongly about any of it. I'm like,
I don't care either way. I'm just throwing it out there with this. On this note,
Twitter has me all riled up. I'm like ready to argue, and I don't even know what I'm arguing about. Yes,
that's because your blood pressure's already up from the day and all the notifications we've been getting slammed with. But what I wanted to do is
correct, T. They are not going to play stadiums because they're not big enough, and they'll never be big enough.
I agree. And I want to swing this real quick. This transition that I wanted to bring out was the Stones announced a bunch of supporting acts that are opening for them, and opening for them in Denver is Widespread Panic. That's kind of cool. And that is a really fun show. Like going to see Panic and the Stones. Like
openings for the Stones.
Yeah. In Denver, just one night in Denver. I don't
understand Panic as well as I should. And I don't mean that like, I always like, oh yeah, to me, it's just another jam band in the South, right? That I kind of like put out of my mind, but like it's bigger than that. And they like have a whole thing going and they do all these things, and that's cool. And like, I respect it. I don't know why there's such a disconnect there. Like I've listened to them. I've actually gone to a Panic show twice, but like there's a wall there. Like I can keep up with like Dead & Co. or Humphreys or Mo, and I generally know what they're doing. Panic's like just in a whole different ecosystem, it feels like.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been seeing them forever, and they play like they still play a ton of shows at Red Rocks. Like they've hit that plateau, right, Kev? Like they've never gotten above that. They come
Kev's
out here.
not interested. He's so
I know.
checked out.
They come out here and play the Wiltern, for God's sakes, and now they're going to be opening for the Stones. And I mean, again, they've been around for 40 years or so, and it's just it's cool to see them doing that.
The one time I saw them, saw a whole set. They opened for Blues Traveler at Red Rocks.
Yeah,
back in '94 on the 4th of July.
Back when Blues Travelers owned the 4th of July before Panic took it over. I was there too, Kev. Like, it's funny the shows we've been to together.
And they played one year at Jazz Fest, and we stayed for the first song, and CC Adcock was playing, and we went over and saw him, which is rockabilly. I mean, we're at Jazz Fest. It's Widespread Panic, or
because you look at the lineup that they're having, and I mean, out here in LA when they're playing, the Linda Lindas are opening one night for them, and my wife loves the Linda Lindas. So like, like they have small acts.
The market, they got it nailed. They're like jam band market. Let's get Widespread to.
Right? We're playing Denver. Let's get Panic to. Right, exactly. But why not like in Atlanta?
Right.
Well, Atlanta, who did they have? A hip hop artist, maybe something.
Ghost Towns.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know who that is either. But yeah,
they're big, huge, enormous.
Apparently huge.
That is interesting. I kind of miss the because I don't see a lot of shows that have opening acts. I think that's such a the traditional model. I think I don't know. Maybe if that's all the shows I saw, I would get sick of it. But like I miss it. Like I would need to see more shows.
Fish have? You know, the Grateful Dead used to have an opening act one summer tour because people would hear the music and start coming in. It was a trick to get people off the line. Who would Fish have open up if they did do a stadium tour?
Oh,
Taper's
okay.
Choice. What? They're friends with Mike. It would totally work.
King Gizzard and Wizard Lizard.
I bet you would get a Goose. I bet you'd have like a Goose show up because it would be Goose's chance to dip their beak into the next pond, so to speak.
I don't know if there's enough separation to get the numbers because I feel like you want a little bit of cross pollination, but also have a big enough separate.
You get the World Drugs or something to open.
Yeah, like that's like adjacent to the scene because I mean I don't mean this as a criticism, but I feel like a large percentage of Goose's fans are already going to see Fish. I know not all. Like I get it. The one guy who's like a Goose fan that hates Fish, but like it was the same thing as like Fish opening up for the Grateful Dead, right? It would be like. If
but
they were
that guy can then be like, yeah, I went and saw the Goose open its sets and left before Fish played every night.
Cool, man.
Exactly. I'd only go to see Taper's Choice and then leave. Like, what? I don't need to stay for Fish. I got my fill.
But I think you're right. It would have to be something more, you know,
like indie. I don't know, or
somebody who's already filling theaters themselves.
Or just some random act again that like Fishman likes that he plays on like the Aaron Path or something that you're like, I don't know who this is, but like it's somebody that they enjoy. Yeah, and even like give you a left turn and like have some like, you know, bluegrass band or something to open for them too, you know, like something like that.
Oh, that would be Mike's choice.
Get Del McCurry or somebody. You could get a Del McCurry.
Or Grishman's kid that's doing stuff, you know, like he could do it.
I think at that point, pretty much any of those bands would jump at the opportunity. You know?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
One year I saw Los Lobos. The next night was 10,000 Maniacs. Then was Edie Brickell. Then was the Neville Brothers. I mean, it was like
that's crazy.
I saw all these. You know, it's the only time I ever saw Edie Brickell. Only time I ever saw 10,000 Maniacs. But I wouldn't trade going in early for either one of them for anything.
Totally. And again, this is a good point too. I've seen Zach and his pushing out this Willow Smith thing. It's pretty crazy. And yeah, I mean, again, it's just everyone's welcome to the party, right? There is no right or wrong, especially when it comes to music. Like musicians
love party. I forgot what the party is. Redefine this for me.
Well, no, in this one, it's like in music, everyone like musicians love to play together and collaborate, right? Like that's the part. So like. If you're fusing two things, you can't be like, oh, just like the Vampire Weekend and Goose. Oh, I can't believe these guys are playing with them. Like, fuck this. Like, get these guys off the stage. They love to collaborate. Like, music is collaboration. Music is like art. It's forming things. So, like, anybody that wants to collaborate with anybody, like Zach and Willow Smith, you would never put those two together. But Zach's a prog guy and a musical genius, so it makes sense. And Willow Smith apparently is phenomenal. So, like, it makes sense.
I don't know who that is, but
do that.
That
will
would be
definitely check it out.
Will Smith's daughter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to take a breather because my head is starting to spin.
Getting
And
jiggy with it?
I made this dope ass promo for the Wookiees, and I just want to run it. It's quick, but let's just take a breather.
My biggest
Nice
takeaway
start.
from that is we need to bring Moon Cabin back.
We
Yeah.
do need to bring. Do you have a different take now that you know that Moon Cabin is a Goose thing and like know more about Goose, or do we just forget the whole Goose thing and just keep it?
No,
on the
No.
when you guys told me that originally, like, you know, when we thought of that idea, I think it was Chad maybe that even came up with it. I was dying.
Llama.
at how-
No, I think it was a llama thing.
That sound it reeks of llamaism.
I was laughing so hard. I was like, that is brilliant. And when we did like the real world and had Maggie read the VO for when Wooks stopped being Wooks or whatever and live on the moon, that was I was dying. Like, that was so funny. And then you guys told me it was a Goose song or a Goose album or whatever. I was like, really? Huh. Well, okay, then I guess it kind of ties
Well,
into
we
that. But to
started
me,
it tonight. We had this guy Ben on, and if you all remember, he at one time he played drums for Goose, and he came on with Greg Knight this one time, and they were in the
Oh, yeah.
studio.
I remember
And that's
that.
when
And then we
Moon Cabin
wanted the bit
started.
to be a Goose thing
Yeah.
for Ben.
Right.
a
People
Moon Cabin
forget
was
that we had all these dope ass guests early on.
Moon Cabin still cracks me up though, like as its own little reality show that we tried to make it in its own
Yeah.
world. Nothing to do with Goose. It kills me. Like I still
All
think
right,
those-
listen, I'm okay with bringing Moon Cabin back, but I would request a reboot. I don't want to try to salvage old bits. We could take the IP or like the ideas and
It got
reimagine
dark,
it, but
man.
I don't
It got
got
dark.
fucking twisted. That's what I'm saying, Kevin. It was fucking weird.
I got stuck on the moon.
At the end of the original Moon Cabin, not the remake that I did, we killed Chad off. His
Yeah.
cord got cut, and he just spiraled off into space.
Yeah, very 2001. We just let him go.
Ironically, that's not the only time we've killed his character. We've killed multiple Chad characters.
I think we should absolutely do a Return to Moon Cabin or Moon Cabin 2 and do a reboot. That would be great. Everything gets rebooted.
What if we do a futuristic version of Moon Cabin, but set in the past? So it's like a retro. I call it Moon Cabin 2001, right? So it's like looking to the future, but from the past. So it has that like retro vibe and have it like, you know what I mean? Like Fantastic Four stylistic kind of thing, and just do Moon Cabin 2001. That would be fun.
I think the opening should be all the way back when we first landed on the moon, and what they discovered was the moon cabin there, but nobody ever like found out about it.
Oh, go like a lost thing. Like, they
Yeah.
have to figure out why the fuck there's a cabin on the moon.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. I am motivated though. After the editing and the exercise we did with the Wookiee Awards and shit, I do want to fucking bring back some bits and things. I think like the commercials and some of those things were so much fun to put. I don't even know how well received they are, and I don't even care. Like just the satisfaction of coming up with an idea and brainstorming, collaborating, and throwing it together is just
Wook Stars should come back.
Oh wait,
Pawn Stars.
Pawn Wooks.
Pawn
yeah,
Wooks, we
I
call
think we went away from Wook Stars because it sounded like something else. Yeah, man, we're getting weird, Joel. This was an planned, unannounced pop-up episode. We're riffing. Basically we got all fired up by the social webs, and then we were supposed to talk about a Fish song, but I was burnt out, and here we go.
So when does the new Fish album come out? Do we have a release date set?
We do have a release date. It's late. It was surprising to me how early they announced it for how late. Well, I'll look it up. I think it was like June or July.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't
we get
in
another
May.
single? Do you think in May we get another single?
Yeah. July 12th. I'm not sure, but I could see that.
When does summer tour start?
Sorry, guys. Think I'm like a fucking producer or something.
Yeah, I mean, I see you're already on the interwebs. You might as well just look up when the tour starts.
This is a dangerous place to be, though.
Probably right before the album comes out or right after.
What is this? Where the fuck's the summer tour?
Because that's smart.
Oh, July
marketing.
19th. So yeah, the
yeah.
album comes
week
out right before.
So you can listen to it, so you can learn all the words to Evolve and sing along.
Well, you know what? I think they need to have another single, and I think it's potentially dangerous because Evolve did not do a great job talking about the studio, the
Right.
single release.
Yep.
Did not do a great job getting people hyped for the album. I'm not going to say whether it was a good or bad song, and I don't even want to get into like whatever. Like if it's all I'm saying is across the board, even the fans of that song did not feel super hyped by what they did with it. So
do people ever get hyped for any jam band album?
Oh yeah.
I was one of those people, Tim, because you know I stand that song. I like it, but the studio version of it does not do it the fun of seeing it and hearing it live.
Yeah. Kev, I would argue it's the opposite. I would argue fans get super fucking hyped every time they announce an album. And that's the problem is our expectations go super high. And then it's not till after that we get all disappointed. I remember Big Boat when they changed their profile pictures to clouds and like we figured out that we were getting a new album. People were fucking going nuts for it. They were like so excited about it. And then we got it and everybody was like, well, that's an album. People listen to that album.
That's an album.
I just wonder if this whole new album is going to tend towards what we heard with Evolve and the addition of the strings and the production as opposed to the last one, which was raw and stripped down, which I think lent to it being such a successful album.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was alluding to is that it's a dangerous move, but it's a necessary move because this got no hype. They need another one to get people hyped, but if it's another stringy, like I don't want to say overly produced because I'm not even trying to put like my opinion on, but like a highly produced piece that I think is polished. Whereas, and somebody commented on the last time we discussed about this, like, oh, they produced on Sigma Oasis, they had strings on the one song. It's like, yeah, I'm not saying overall they didn't, but a lot of the songs in that album, especially towards the end with like Thread and Everything's Right and Steam, they jammed the shit out of those songs and captured the room really well and did little tweaks. Whereas on something like this, they're layering on their parts and they're really, I keep saying overly produced, but they're polishing the shit out of that turd. So I think we need to get some heavy, big, drawn out jams.
What song?
The room.
What's your
Oblivion,
song?
Well, this is would say Oblivion, but the last two times they played it, they've mercurized it and made it this like stupid, truncated song. And I'm like, that song needs to have a lengthy, dark jam on it. And it's phenomenal if they do. I don't know what they're going to do with it. That's what I would vote, though, is jam the shit out of Oblivion, release it as a single.
What do you think of like a Hey Stranger or Mercy from that album Trey did showing up as a Fish studio cut on this?
I mean, it's not unprecedented, right? Like that's happened before, so I can't rule it out. But it seems, I don't know. What do you think? It seems unlikely to me.
I think Hey Stranger, if they did it, should be the next single.
I mean, Hey Stranger is fucking pretty slappy. I like it.
Yeah, and it would work as that too, Kev. It would work as a single coming out, and it works getting a little bit more play live after that too. So yeah.
I wonder if Drew Carey's going to end up at Bondi Green. Do you think?
Well, if he does, we'll have to get him one in wook+.
Yeah, Hey Stranger was really good at the Sphere, and Mercy too. Those songs really landed. I think I have a new appreciation for them. I don't know if they're going to be on this album. There's so many new songs. Well, I don't know that they would. I mean, do you think that's part of the consideration? Oh, it's already on an album. We have all these other ones that we don't have recorded in the studio. No, they're probably just looking at the holistic approach to the album and what works together.
They're like, do we want to stick Monster on this album?
Yeah.
Do we want to stick The Well on this album?
But see, that's what I mean. All of those. What was the venue in the Mission Room or whatever with Dez?
Mission Ballroom, yeah.
Yeah. All of those ballroom debuts work really well together and already have a flavor. It felt like they were playing off of an album, to me at least. So I could see that just being the album. And I don't think Mercy and Hate, right? That was all released by Trey before that.
Right. But on the last album, something showed up, didn't it? That was on a Trey solo album.
I don't know.
I believe so. Life Beyond a Dream was played with Ghost Beyond
Ghost of the Forest. Yeah.
And then came out on the album. But it wasn't on the Ghost of the Forest album. Hey, see you later.
He's like, fuck you guys. I only came here to talk about Twitter drama. I'm sorry, Kev. I didn't mean to draw you into our drama. I was just all fired up. I really don't care either way about any of it. I just thought it was interesting.
You do care, though. You obviously care.
What do you mean? I mean, I care.
It affects you because you're an empathetic human being, because you don't want to see the people that we, like Maggie, we gave her this.
Oh, that I care.
Yeah. She doesn't deserve to get a bunch of crap because we like her and thought that it was funny to give her the award this year.
I guess what you're making me realize is there's multiple issues going on. I care about that. I don't think shitting on their parade and whatever, and it just reeks of like insecurities, like the people that are doing it. Yeah, I care about that, and I don't think that's cool. The people that are like old heads that are struggling with the term wook evolving, that I don't care about. That's silly to me. It's like, yeah, like it is kind of stupid. That was the whole fucking point. Like, right? we weren't very earnest about it,
Well, to your point with that, Tim, is like the band that we follow that makes us wooks has gone from wearing like Marvin the Martian t-shirts to now wearing like $500 outfits on stage. So like even they've evolved into like not necessarily being the wook band. So
I know, but I do want to, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to disagree with you, but I want to separate money from it because that part makes it weird to me. It's like, I don't think it has anything to do with money.
That's their biggest complaint is like, you're not scrubbing
because you have money.
Right. You're not scrubbing to go from show to show. You're not living out of your car, selling veggie burritos on lot, barely being able to afford getting a show. Like that's what they're saying. Like you took a shower today. You live in a home. You shower. You like one guy was like, you've gone to the dentist and showered today. You're not a wook. So like, there's this like definition of what that is no longer what it was. And I'm just saying the things we follow and the things that like elevated us from being wooks have changed too. So like obviously the definition is going to change.
Here's what I'm going to say on this, and I'm going to do it very briefly because I don't want to live in this world.
Are we still live?
Yes. And I'm going to cut this part out later. But this is the class warfare that they want because it keeps us fucking distracted. Everyone most likely is poor. They just have different labels of poor. If you're rich and you make $150,000 rich and make $150,000 a year, you're poor. If you make $30,000 a year, you're poor. If you make $500,000 a year, you're still fucking poor compared to the fucking actual rich people that want us to fight with each other. We get so bent out of shape over $20,000 of salary. Do you know how little that fucking means to those people?
Oh yeah,
you spend that at Mondegreen in a weekend.
The Sphere. That's like, a Sphere run, Kev.
I'm just so sick of like the rich versus the poor. When I look around and I'm like, we're all fucking poor. We're all struggling. And I know listen, I grew up super dirt poor and I know it's very fucking hard. I'm not trying to belittle the hardness, right? But I'm just saying that like the whole hatred for somebody that makes a little bit more than you is misplaced and misguided, I think. A little bit. Okay, I'm done with it. No more of that shit. Stop doing this.
So this weekend, you know what we totally skipped over?
What did we skip over?
Neil Young opened his tour last night.
We have to make the music, the intro music for the Hogan Neil Young minute.
I know, and I send him enough articles about it. Like they've done a bunch of things, and Kev, that was the one you brought up. But like, there's a bunch of things that they've done. He broke out a song, I think, or they're planning on playing a song at some point, and like
Cortez the Killer was going to have the extra verse in it.
Yeah, that was what it was. So yeah,
and he opened last night. He opened with it last night.
Nice.
Yes, very 1970 through 75 heavy set. So you got nothing off Ragged Glory. You got a couple new ones. You got 4 Neil Young solo acoustic tunes towards the end of the set. And you got Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, which stood out to me more than anything because I don't remember seeing that one crazy horse set list. Oh, I have no idea, SC. Somebody just sent me a message and said, hey, they played. Here was the set list.
Are you like legitimately a Neil Young fan, or is this kind of something that you stumbled into and are leaning? I honestly don't know. Like, how did we get here? I don't know why we're here, but I don't mind it. I like it. I dig this. Explain to me how you got to be the Neil Young guy.
I've said before he's a low rent Bob Dylan, but I love Crazy Horse because Crazy Horse, when it came to exist, was a reaction to, much like punk rock, to the rest of the rock corporation around Neil. He was the angry young man still, even though he was in his 30s at that point. And I love Crazy Horse. And then in 89, they put out Ragged Glory, which was such a fantastic album. Boom, we're back. Hey, 14 years later, here we are. But a lot of his solo stuff, Only Love Can Break My Heart and Heart of Gold and all that, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Evan, I think it is hard to quantify that over the entire run. I think there was not a lot of consistency, but overall, I would say every night was fantastic in different aspects, not set list. I think night one set list, you could argue, was one of the best set lists they've played in years, strictly on set list. I personally, not to rag on the show, don't think it was all executed perfectly all the way through. And I think that, there were really high expectations going into it that offset it. But yeah, I think, what was it? Night 3 set list was probably the weakest. And I don't know. I don't think each night was, one or the other. What do you guys?
But I think there was a lot of room to improvise. Obviously, we got a 33-minute or whatever down with Disease, but I don't think there was a lot of room to take a turn into Makasupa Policeman out of nowhere or something.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I think, as they said, and we talked about, what was it, 80 songs, but then they cut it down to 60 or whatever. And like, they cut songs that they knew they weren't going to actually get to, or didn't really fit into the theme or the feeling of the theme of things, and things like that. So, yeah, but I think this was a very curated. It's hard to say curated when there's 60 or 80 songs involved in it, but
it was for them.
But that speaks to also their library, right? Like that they can do that, and there's
no
that many
Bowie,
songs.
no Simple,
Yeah.
I mean, so where was the Simple? Where were my saxophones flying across the sphere?
Simple. Actually, you're right. That would have been fucking great to see, but they weren't being that literal with it anyway.
Yeah, but I'm surprised. Like, I bet Simple was one of those songs that just didn't get played, but was on the list to be played. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, definitely. And I think
no Reba. Where was Reba?
Yeah. But I will say, for like the second time, because they did this after the last bracket we did and played Reba and Ghost right away in the first show of that run, they did the same thing in this one. They put a fluff head at the end and an antelope at the encore. So it's like they know the brackets, and we do a pretty good job with the brackets of like getting those songs in there for them to like nail. So I think that was funny. It's twice now that after the brackets they've played the championship songs in the first show back.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the whole set list question in general is tough because there are songs that I fucking love that I saw a lot of people were like that night were like, oh, this is a weak set list. And I was like, really fucking like Twist and Taste are two of my favorite songs. And just getting those like in a show, I was already on like cloud 9. I saw a lot of people that night were like, this set list is weak. And I'm like, all right, we obviously have different preferences, and that's fine. But like, I love those songs.
Taste top 5 visual. Taste might even been the best, but I really am still thinking on a lot
Taste
of it.
was
Looking
the
at pictures
Pollock,
and clip.
like Mausoleum one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that set list. Hold on. Yeah, that one.
Let me pull this up.
Yeah. Set Your Soul Free. Okay, I'll give you that. Maybe not the best opener, but Tube. I always like a Tube. That Stash was fucking killer. Pillar Jets, set list wise, weak.
Oh yeah, they did.
Jam wise was fucking great. Were you guys on like Steam and Mountains in the Mist? Like that? Did you think it got weak there? Maybe it's
Mountains in the Mist had a great visual. The visual is up there. The song itself, I'm not a fan of. I mean,
they're saying Sunday was the least favorite. Let's look at Sunday. Is that Plasma, Evolve, Ghost, Divided Sky, Character Zero, Oblivion, Down with Disease? You're saying that's weak? 2001, Piper and First Tube. Like, I'm skipping songs, but like, you don't get all those songs in one show and say it's a weak set list. Like, I think we've gotten spoiled. People want a perfect fucking show. You're gonna get a number line in a show. You're gonna get an Evolve. Like, it's fine. You're not gonna have a perfect show.
But Tim, you can't say a perfect show, because what is a perfect show? Like, a perfect show to you is totally different than what a perfect show is to everyone else, right? So like,
I guess what I'm saying is you're not gonna get your perfect show because they're going for the aggregate. Right. So nobody's gonna have their perfect show, but we're all gonna have a good show.
But I can tell you, night one was pretty much my perfect show. That's why I was like, fine, like mic drop, I'm done. Like that was everything I needed. I won't get that in like 20 years of seeing them like I have. You know what I mean? Like I told Kev, that reminded me so much of the 1.0 days, both the playing and the set list. It was like pure tea. I was so excited.
A
Evan,
perfect show for me is 15 out of my top 30 songs that I want to see. If they do something like, 4/5 of the show, I'm like, yes, I wanted to see that one. I'm like,
Totally.
that was.
Can I do a social experiment? So I picked out songs from that set list, and Evan's like, that sounds amazing. Now I'm going to do the same thing in reverse and then see if he likes that show. What do you mean? You got a Plasma and an Evolve, a Hey Stranger, an Oblivion, a Beneath a Sea of Stars, and an Ether Edge? That show is awesome, right? And then you'd be like, no, that show sucked balls. So it's like, yeah, it was a very mixed bag. That was a very mixed bag.
Oh, yeah, they played Ether Edge.
Yeah, I think that one, wasn't that shitty? Wasn't it the one I was like...
It was like 2 minutes long. It was way short.
It was a good, I liked where it was placed though.
Evan loves all of it, so I really don't know what he was talking about. He's like, no, he's like, guys, that actually was legitimately my perfect show.
That is exactly what I was saying.
That's funny. That's awesome. Way to go, Evan. I'm glad you. Yeah, you know what? Being bummed about it ending, I can relate to that. I've definitely like the kids at Disney syndrome thing, where it's like the end of the end of Baker's or the end of a run, and you just like it's hard. Like you're like blissed, but you're also like, I don't know. T, you're always fucking ready to go though. You're like, I'm done with this shit. Maybe it's because you don't have arch support. Maybe if you wore shoes, you would be feeling a little more energetic.
I'll tell you what, speaking of that, being barefoot at the Sphere, man, those like the floor really does vibrate a lot, like more than like most things I've ever seen. And what I was going to say too, Tim, is, the joy of seeing people like going to first few shows or like getting songs that they haven't, like my wife loves Carey, right? So to see her gig of Carey close that first set, she was so stoked, even though it was a shorter version of it. And then the second set, as soon as they went into My Friend, I looked at her and I was like, you're gonna love this song, because she likes Dark Evil Fish and like
and that's
heavier,
like the best.
and that's the first time she'd ever heard that. And like by the time we were done, she's like, that might be my new favorite song. She's like, that song is awesome. She's like, I've never heard that. I was like, I need to introduce you to a few more of my friends then, because like that one, I knew you'd love that song. So
you should slip Rift in her CD player.
I know. I know. I think she got Spotify. She's already like been Spotifying it. So it's so fun to see people though find out, and like, especially like Drew Carey, for instance, like those things where you're like, holy shit, like I didn't even know this was part of their repertoire, or like this is so different than some of these like Evolve that you get. Like they have this like dark and light in them. So that's always like, that's one of the funnest thing about shows. And to your point, you never know what someone's perfect show is, or what someone's taking away from a show and what they're really enjoying in it.
I love seeing shows with people that are like new to the band or whatever, because like seeing their eyes and like the reaction, and like every song they hear for the first time is the best version of that song they've heard. And like you don't get that like bullshit of like, oh, I heard a better one a couple of
dude, that number
ago.
line, man.
Right, like, oh, you'll never hear a Good Loving Cup again because they did the GOAT one after the Blues won the cup that night or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's always hard. You can't compare.
And they also don't take shit for granted. Like,
right.
Like, I remember going to a show with somebody for the first time, and they got a Yam and a Hood in the same show, and they were fucking melted. And don't get me wrong, I love those songs, but like after you catch a fuck ton of Yams, it's hard to have that first, and to see somebody experience that for the first time and just be like, what the fuck did I just see? That is so fun to watch. I really am having a good time, but I kind of have to get back to work soon. I don't know.
I have to go get blood work done for my doctor's appointment. So lucky
you're
me.
not a wook.
This was kind of a little therapeutic for me. That wasn't the intent, but hanging out with friends and just shooting the shit, I feel better. I'm gonna stay off Twitter for the rest of the day.
Yeah, don't let it just distract you. Hey, Stewie Greenberg, I was at those shows too, and that Gloria show was so much fun. Like, what a night to be in that building. What are the chances that I was in Chicago too after the Hawks won the cup, and Trey did a little dedication to them, but it was nothing like that night was so special. Like that building was off the hook. That was one of those rare moments. That was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.
Stay positive. Bring love, light, and laughter. That's what we're all about. Good vibes, positivity.
light, motherfucker.
Stay happy.
Fucking love and light.
Be positive. Go shake a stranger's hand today.
Touch
Smile
your
at someone. Love y'all.